Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to RGV Community Health Hour. I'm your host, DJ Kalicha Kid. On today's episode, I don't have a guest, but I do have quite a bit of information to share and also a little bit of story time about training that I did over the summer in Michigan. So I wanted to start out today's episode with just a quick reminder that the views expressed on RGV Community Health Hour are for informational purposes only and do not constitute medical advice. Be sure to consult your primary care provider for all your healthcare needs. Now that we have all our disclaimers out of the way, just wanted to talk about how I dropped the ball a little bit here and not having my guest for today. So last week I spent, maybe 4 or 5 hours in Weslaco for the startup showcase, I believe they call it, where they get students from here at UTRGV to have basically like a little pop-up table at the Center for Innovation and Commercialization in Weslaco. And so I got invited out to go, so I did. And while I was there, I got to network and meet other people. And it was a really cool event, with the ending of the event, basically being pitches, business pitches, kind of like Shark Tank style, to the Valley's Angel Investing Network. And yeah, so it was really great to see these pitches and meet these other entrepreneurs. And one of the entrepreneurs I met that night is a gentleman by the name of Alex Velasco. He is one of the co-founders of Fork to Fit. So Fork to Fit, if you're not familiar, it's a great multi-unit thriving business here in the valley, and it's basically like um, meal prep type service. But yeah, I mean, it's a great story, and I'm looking forward to eventually having him here to tell his story. He's a UTRGV alum, got his degree in biology, and yeah, he just wants to, make healthy, real food accessible to everybody. And yeah, I don't want to say too much because I'd really love for him to come on and share the story about, what they've worked to accomplish and his goals for the future and moving the company forward. So it was a real honor to see him pitch his business and talk about future moves that they want to make. But yeah, really, and he agreed to come on and he sent me a text. But when I realized it late last week, I realized that I never got the text, even though I saw him literally put it in his phone and message me. But I'll reach out to him and hopefully we can have him on a future episode. For right now, my guest for next week is going to be Dr. Aaron Manusov. He recently retired from UTRGV, and he's a medical doctor associated with our department, the Human Genetics Department, and also with the School of Medicine. And so I'm really excited to have him on. So hopefully, he can hop on the show for next week. Um, but yeah, for now, I'm going to take a quick music break and then we'll come back and I will um, share a bit of my story from Michigan. So stay tuned, everyone. Thanks. All right, everyone. Thanks for staying tuned in. Um, so before the music break, I mentioned that I was going to talk a little bit about my experience doing a week-long training in Michigan this summer. Um, so we have in our lab, the lab of Dr. John Vandenberg, we have a CRISPR project going where we're trying to do gene knockouts on our laboratory possums. And we've been working on this, excuse me, we've been working on this for the last couple of years and we've hit a bottleneck. So over the last couple of years, we've been doing this work, but there was various times when we had to stop, for different reasons. The first being that when we got our microscope to do what's called our microinjections to inject CRISPR into the nucleus of um, a one cell staged embryo, we got the wrong capillaries. So basically, there's these. So it's a microscope that has robotic arms and joysticks to control the robotic arms, and at the tips of those robotic arms are little glass capillaries that'll grab the embryo on the left side and inject the embryo on the right side. And unfortunately, there's not there's a lot more work that gets done in laboratory mice than our laboratory possums. And so when they set everything up, they set it up basically like they would for a mouse. And with that came the problems because our possum embryos are much bigger, I believe up to 50 times bigger than mouse embryos. And so, because the capillary that was meant to grab them was meant for a mouse, it was basically there was no grabbing these embryos properly in order for us to microinject them. And so, when we tried to order more, there were issues because the company that was manufacturing those capillaries ended up selling that division of their business to another scientific business. And so there's like a 6 to 8 month back order of these capillaries. So that really put us behind in terms of doing our microinjections. But then the real difficulty comes in doing the embryo transfer surgery. And so that's kind of where our bottleneck has been for the past few months. And then the other issue that came about that was kind of out of our hands was our most experienced surgeon ended up leaving our lab because he got his master's degree and moved on in his career. And so yeah, so we basically were stuck in between a rock and a hard place, I guess you could say. And now we have surgeons that are trained up to do the work, or I should say, our animal care team, are the ones that are doing the surgeries, and they're a remarkable group. And I appreciate all that they do because they've been helping me a lot in terms of my projects. But yeah, no, so they're trained up again to do the work, and it's just now trying to get these animals to have litters from our transfer surgery. And so we were having our difficulties, and it's got to the point now where I got sent to Michigan because at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, they have what's called a transgenic animal model core, where they basically create transgenic animals. They actually, when I was there, I got to see a chimeric rat that was made with DNA from three different, animals, three different rats. And so it was really a unique experience to be there and get the training because it really is world-class training that I received in this week. It was very intense, but it was quite the experience. And so I'll just talk a little bit about it in terms of what I got to experience. So I, went out to Ann Arbor for this training, and in the syllabus it said, basically it broke it down day by day. Hey, Monday you're going to learn about glass fabrication, Tuesday microscope setup and how everything works, Wednesday collecting embryos and trying this transfer surgery, and basically kind of rinse repeat, just gaining proficiency for the rest of the week and going and putting kind of all the processes together. So on Monday it was supposed to be just like fabricating the glass tools needed to do the work, and by Thursday, Friday, it would have been like, hey, fabricate the glass, collect the embryos, micro inject them, do the surgery. And so it was a bit nerve-wracking because on the first day, when I was just going and expecting to do glass fabrication, it ended up being the whole process, other than the micro injecting. So in the morning, I got the rundown of how they fabricate the glass with the various, what's called a microforge and a pipette puller. And so I was learning how to do that stuff and expecting it to be the whole day. And then no, like not too long after, maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours of getting the rundown on everything, it was on to collecting embryos. And I was just like, oh, okay, I thought we were going to do glass fabrication all day. And they're like, no, we're actually going to do the collection and the surgery today. And I was just like, oh, wow. I was not expecting to jump right into surgery on my first day of the training. And having never even touched a laboratory mouse, it was kind of a new experience because, I've been working with our laboratory possums here in the Brownsville campus for, my whole, PhD experience, which is, I'm at the start of my fourth year at this point. And yeah, so it was, a little bit, like I said, nerve-wracking to jump in and do surgeries because with the surgeries here, I don't even perform the surgeries here. I assist in the surgeries when I can, but I'm, busy with various other things that I don't have time to put in the hours needed to get proficient at doing the surgeries, which now I feel confident that I could do because I did it in Michigan on mice, and doing the surgery on mice and our possums are drastically different, but just kind of getting over that fear of like, man, I've never done it before. And of course you want everything to turn out well. So that way the animal survives the surgery and the experiment can continue. But yeah, so it was quite the experience having to do that on the first day. And then, yeah, so it was a great experience though. It kind of threw me into the deep end and I was able to kind of tackle those fears head on. And um, it didn't go as well as it went towards the end of the week, I can tell you that much. But um, so that was the first day. The second day was mostly micro injecting. So I did collect embryos in the morning, got the training on the microscope, the rundown of their setup, because their setup was a little bit different than our setup that we use to do the micro injections of the CRISPR cocktail. And so, yeah, I got the rundown on the microscope, and then in the afternoon, I got to spend that time, on the microscope, doing the micro injections of, maybe, of course, I wasn't as proficient as the others, but I believe they said that they can do like up to 200 micro injections in an afternoon, and I did maybe 20. Um, but it was quite a unique experience, because I did gain proficiency with some other tool that helps highly control the embryos and how you manipulate them. It took a little bit of practice, but I got it down. And then because I was able to line up the embryos versus having them kind of scattered throughout our microscope slide, I could put them in an orderly manner where I could just grab one, inject it, make a slight adjustment on the microscope stage, and then get to the next one, and then get to the next one, and get to the next one. So, like I said, so the second day on Tuesday, I got the microscope training as it stated on the syllabus. So, no surgery on that day. But yeah, and then on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, it was just put it all together every day. Not necessarily fabricating the glassware. I mean, that's kind of done for the micro injections every time that you're going to load the CRISPR into the injection capillary. But for the grabbing capillary, it's just, basically just there to hold the embryo so it can just be reused day to day depending on how clean or dirty it is. So those, the rest of the days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it was go in the morning, collect the embryos, wash them and clean them. By afternoon time, take a quick lunch, and then in the afternoon it was, or of course, if I could get to injecting them with CRISPR before lunch, do a few injections before, maybe a few injections after. But then not too long after doing the CRISPR injections, we would do the embryo transplant surgery on the mice. And so I would do surgery to two mice, every afternoon, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And by Friday, I became fairly proficient in all the training I had been doing. And I got an email a couple of weeks ago um, that let me know that my mice that I did surgery to survived, thankfully, and were, um, and they gave litters. They gave, 13 pups were born between, I want to say 2 mice, but I could be wrong about that because I did surgery on 3 mice, right? No, 4 mice. So, Yeah, the thing is, so because I was so new at it, the embryo transfer was probably one of the hardest parts other than the surgery because of the way everything goes down. But so I won't go into too much detail, but yeah, it was pretty tough and definitely, like I said, got better by day 4. And actually, no, it was 2 mice on Fridays. On all the days, I want to say it was 2 mice. Multiple mice the embryos were collected from, but yeah, for the transfer surgeries, it was 2 mice per day. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I got great news, but the crazy part about it all is even with the experts, they do that all day, every day. That's kind of their wheelhouse, being the transgenic animal model core, is to do science in creating transgenic animals. And um, so even with them, who are experts in the field and do it all the time, they only get one CRISPR knockout, like, one CRISPR result that they were looking for out of every 100 embryos that they inject. So out of the 13 pups that I had born um, from my transfers and surgeries and micro injections, there's a slim chance that they're going to have actually be genetically engineered the way that we worked to make them. So the training was really good, but really intense. 8 to 5 every day, and then right after, 5:30, depending on how the surgeries went, and then right after, I would hop in a meeting 20, 30 minutes later with my mentor, Dr. Vandenberg, to just update him on what I was learning and to see what questions we can kind of brainstorm together to ask the experts in the field of transgenics, um, to to try to probe some more and see what we can learn to help us with our project here with the lab possum. So since getting back from Michigan, our project is making incremental steps forward with what I've learned in my training, and I'm really excited for the next month or two because I really think we're going to get over this bottleneck and have more litters born from our surgeries. So once that happens, then we can go back to our CRISPR injections and move the project forward, which has been kind of had its ups and downs over the last 2 years. But in any real research lab setting, those are kind of the results to be expected. It's not like undergrad gen chem chemistry lab where you go and it's just kind of cookie cutter. Here's the recipe and the steps to follow, and you can expect the result. Unless you mess something up drastically within the experimental procedure itself, you can expect the compound or whatever result you're trying to get from the experiment. So yeah, so that's just what's something I wanted to update y'all. And if y'all are listening to this and are in the field of transgenic animals or using CRISPR to do genetic engineering work, you might want to look into that transgenic animal model core, because it was really an amazing week in Michigan, and like I mentioned, the training you get there is really world class. And yeah, so I'm really thankful for the opportunity and looking forward to continuing this project on, and hopefully reaching success with it soon in terms of getting a knockout animal, because we'll be only the second lab in the world to be able to do this work, with the first being in Japan. So yeah, that's my little update for you all in terms of the work that some of the stuff I did over the summer. I've mentioned here and there on episodes during this semester that I am doing scuba diving stuff with the marine biologist. So that's kind of been an awesome experience, just kind of being able to get out of my lab that has, you know, 4 walls and a couple of windows that are mostly, closed up with blinds. um, but yeah, so just being able to go and do essentially marine biology and learn how to be a marine biologist has been a really great experience. Having the ocean as your laboratory is quite the drastic change from my experiences. And Yeah, so 6 more dives is all I need, and I'll be a certified scientific diver. And so it was something that I wasn't really ever expecting to fall into, but over the summer it was something I got the opportunity to do, and I'm really glad that I did because it's been such an incredible experience being able to um, you know, go out and learn a whole nother, basically, the way another discipline in the scientific fields of biology do their science. So yeah, that's all I got for that. My updates of what I did over the summer. Other than that, I just kept working on my projects and going to be presenting my research for the first time next month at a conference in Boston for this year's American Society of Human Genetics annual conference. So, really excited for that. And with that, I'm going to take another music break. And when I get back, we're going to have some information to share about, you know, people's recent successes lately. So stay tuned. Thanks. All right, everyone. Thanks for staying tuned in. And so, as we continue with today's episode, I wanted to kind of go over some things I saw online that UTRGV has shared on their social media pages and through their website. And so something I thought I would do is give a shout out to Elizabeth Rizendez, who is this month's UTRGV's unsung hero. She's an administrative assistant too in the Department of Health and Biomedical Sciences and has spent the past 17 years supporting students and faculty in the Biomedical Sciences program, BMed, on the Brownsville campus. From coordinating outreach events to guiding students on their path to medical or dental school, she plays a vital behind the scenes role in shaping future healthcare professionals. Her favorite part of the job? Celebrating student success. Their success is our success, she says. So, if you want to read more about Elizabeth Resendez and all the great work she's done to be this month's UTRGV Unsung Hero, you can read more at utrgv.news/Elizabeth Resendez. So thanks to her and all the administrative assistants, because without them, a lot of work would never get done on campus, and they have uh, quite, a remarkable job because we work pretty closely with our administrative and financial people in our department because of all the grants that get funded and all the support that's needed to kind of go along with that. So thank you all for all the work you do. But moving on, something I did want to read is from the newsroom, Tuesday, September 30th. And so that would be today. Wow. Oh, it just has today's date. The article was actually shared on the 22nd. But so yeah, it says each September, Women in Medicine and Science Month recognizes the achievements of women who are advancing healthcare research and education. At the UTRGV School of Medicine and UT Health RGV, this celebration highlights the next generation of female leaders who are shaping the future of academic medicine. So, just quickly, gonna talk a little bit about these young ladies who were highlighted in this article. So first we have Veronica. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, let's see. Yeah, Veronica O'Brien, a first-year medical student from Lubbock, Texas. This summer, she was working in the laboratories of Harvard's Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center through an internship provided by the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases. Her project focuses on the molecular evolution of carnitine synthesis pathways, a key component of the body's energy metabolism. O'Brien is particularly interested in how patients respond to obesity treatments like GLP-1 therapy. Using advanced techniques such as genetic editing and proteomics, she is uncovering why therapies work for some patients but not others. This experience is teaching me how to look at obesity at the molecular level, O'Brien said. I hope to bring these skills back to the Valley to expand research that directly addresses the metabolic health challenges in our community. So moving on, hope and before I go on with the other two young ladies that this article is kind of covering, I'm really going to reach out to some of them and try to invite them to the show because, like I just read, her research deals with, um, or was kind of supported through the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases. And so that's a big part of what we study down here in our various departments throughout the university are the disease that plague the RGV community, like non-alcoholic fatty liver, Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and other dementias, of course, diabetes and things of that nature. So moving on, Nina Morau, I believe that's how it's pronounced, also a first year medical student, spent time at the University of Virginia through the National Multiple Sclerosis Society's Clinical Mentorship Program. Under the guidance of Dr. Robert Shin, she is studying multiple sclerosis, MS, its early signs, diagnostic criteria, and long term management strategies. Neurology has long fascinated Morau, who compares the specialty to solving a complex puzzle. Her focus on MS stems not only from its scientific complexity, but also from its history and disproportionate impact on women. The earlier we catch MS, the better the outcomes, she said. Through this program, I'm strengthening my ability to recognize those signs so that patients can receive care sooner and live fuller lives. So, reading the first two, it's kind of interesting to see that these were things that they did over the summer. And, their internships were probably longer than my 1 week in Michigan. But, the scuba training was the entire 6 weeks. And while it wasn't directly related to my biomedical research that I do 90+% of the time, it's kind of interesting to read to see what various students were doing for their summers. And as we've mentioned on this show in the past, especially if even if you're taking classes, but especially if you're not taking classes, doing any kind of research that you can do, internship, and summer internships are a lot harder to get than fall and spring internships. And so it might be worthwhile to think about like, hey, if I, um, apply for these internships that are, fall and spring semester, I might, put my graduation, push my graduation date back a bit, but getting that real world experience in an internship or a fellowship or what they call like a co-op, um, would really benefit you in the long run. And so I highly recommend, you can listen to last week's episode where I had, sorry, drawing a blank, Dr. Buvana. I had Dr. Buvana on, and we just talked about the importance of doing those types of things. So I highly recommend going back and listening to at least the end of that episode, because, when I give my guests the mic for whatever they want to share or talk about, she really went on an amazing, like, spiel about just the importance of doing the research and getting these opportunities and putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. So, highly recommend going and checking at least the end of that episode out. But moving on, the last but not least student that they covered is a second year medical student, Tori Sayers from Arvada, Colorado. And she is already building a strong research foundation by joining the short-term research in vision and eye health STRIVE program, where she is using cutting-edge proteomic techniques to study age-related macular degeneration (AMD), the leading cause of blindness in older adults. By analyzing spatial changes in protein expression in human eye tissue, Sayers aims to uncover insights that could lead to earlier diagnoses and more effective therapies. The eye may be small, but its impact on quality of life is immeasurable, she said. This project shows me how precision medicine can shape patient care, and it motivates me to bridge research with clinical practice in my career. Her inspiration to pursue a career in medicine began while working as a scribe, wow, where she saw firsthand how a single diagnostic decision could profoundly impact a patient's life. That sounds like an interesting story she could tell on the show. And I really want to reach out to her now because um, we actually just started doing eye collections and eye proteomics um, in our lab. So I think we could have a really interesting discussion about, more so her than me, because I have just literally just started doing this work over the last 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. But yeah, I think it would still be a great conversation. So I'm definitely going to reach out to have uh, at least, hopefully her, but um, all of the young ladies that I just mentioned would be great to hear more about their research over the summer and what they've learned and what they're striving for. So, and then finally it says, for Sayers, ophthalmology represents both intellectual challenge and the opportunity to preserve one of the most essential aspects of human experience, sight. Building a healthy future, so this is how the article ends. Together, O'Brien, Morale, and Sayers reflect the strength of UTRGV School of Medicine's commitment to academic medicine, training physicians who are not only skilled clinicians but also researchers determined to improve health outcomes in South Texas and beyond. These students are tackling some of the most pressing challenges in healthcare today, said Dr. Everardo Cobos, interim dean of UTRGV School of Medicine and chair of medicine. Their work demonstrates the power of curiosity, innovation, and service. And Dr. Cobos is someone else I also hope to have on the show. Um, Maybe not this semester, but hopefully next semester. So quite a few guests I have lined up that I'd like to get on the show. Hopefully everything goes well with that. And yeah, so one last quick music break, and we'll come back with a bit more information and a little bit more to read. But yeah, just stay tuned, everyone, and appreciate it. Thanks. All right, everyone, for the last 5 minutes or so of today's episode of RGV Community Health Hour, I'm going to read a bit of this news release from September 16th, so just a few days before the one I read about the School of Medicine students, how they spent their summers doing internships in their various fields of study. But I just wanted to read this because, like I mentioned before, so many of UTRGV's departments in the School of Medicine, the College of Sciences, um, and such are working hard to tackle the various issues of disease propensity here in the valley. So, just when I read this, it'll, if this is your first time listening, it'll make a little bit more sense. But, and you can, like I mentioned before, you can catch this or read this article in the newsroom. It's from September 16th. And it says, Neurons and Memory, Protecting the Essence of What Makes Us Human. UTRGV School of Medicine faculty advance Valley Alzheimer's research. The brain is what makes you, you. This is how UTRGV researchers describe the organ that carries memory, identity, and the essence of who we are. It also explains why the toll of Alzheimer's disease can be so devastating. Alzheimer's disease, a progressive neurological disorder, damages brain cells and leads to memory loss, confusion, and changes in behavior and thinking that worsen over time. In the Rio Grande Valley, where, according to the Alzheimer's Association, rates are among the highest in the nation, the need for answers is urgent. This September marks both World Alzheimer's Month, raising awareness of this progressive brain disorder, and Medical Research Month, which highlights the work of research scientists and their contributions to medicine. Both are recognized by the Association of American Medical Colleges. At UTRGV School of Medicine, faculty are working at the intersection of research, teaching, and patient care to bring solutions to South Texas. Among them are Dr. Jesus Melgarejo, Assistant Professor of Neuroscience, and Dr. Carlos Martinez Mendez, Behavioral Neurologist and Assistant Professor of Neurology. Their studies shed light on how Alzheimer's affects Hispanic communities, a population largely underrepresented in national research despite facing a higher risk of the disease. They also focus on understanding what factors relate to the development and progression of Alzheimer's disease. And so the next part is something I want to emphasize because She is really amazing, and I hope to have her on the show. I've been trying to get her on the show for, I think I tried to get her on last semester, but it wasn't able to work out. So hopefully, like I mentioned earlier, I have so many great guests lined up that I'd love to have on and have great talks with. But her name, or well, just going on with the article. So both Dr. Melgarejo and Dr. Martinez Mendez credit Dr. Gladys Maestre, Director of Alzheimer's Disease Resource Center for Minority Aging Research and Professor of Neuroscience, for her mentorship and leadership in advancing this work. So, as part of our human genetics program, we got one of our classes was, I can't remember for which class because it's been over a year since I've done the coursework, but for one of the various classes we took, we have different professors slash PIs or principal investigators come on and talk about, or whatever the subject is for that day. They're just kind of maybe a leader in that field, and they can go more in depth into it than, say, one of the other professors. So she came and she taught one of our classes, and it was such a great class to be in and to learn from her. And so it says here, Dr. Maestra has dedicated her career to building research programs aimed at reducing health disparities in minority and underserved communities. Her guidance has been fundamental in shaping the research careers of faculty like Melgarejo and Martinez Mendez, ensuring that discoveries in the Valley reach far beyond it. Even in the face of Alzheimer's, what makes us who we are is never forgotten, Martinez Mendez said. Our mission is to understand how this disease impacts our community and to use that knowledge to bring hope and better care to Valley families. And so, like I had mentioned, it's quite a long article, so I'm not going to read it all, but I highly recommend y'all spend some time looking at what the newsroom releases, because it's really cool stuff, everything from science to other events that are happening on campus. So shout out to the newsroom for the great work they're doing. And shout out to all the amazing researchers, since it is Medical Research Month, and all the work that they do. And again, I got to give a big thanks and shout out to our, vivarium care tech team, or the animal care technicians. They really helped me out a lot over the past 2 weeks. Without them, it would have been even later nights, as late as they already were for me. So I really appreciate them staying till 7 o'clock some evenings to help me. So totally not something that they had to do, but, when you're in it for the betterment of science and humanity, and of course the animals who make their contributions as well, it's something to be really thankful for. So that's all I have, everyone. Thanks for staying tuned in. And next week, I hope to have Dr. Aaron Manusov on. And man, that's going to be a great conversation because I've been trying to have him on since last semester too. So yeah, really looking forward to that one. So Dr. Manusov, I know you're probably not listening, but you need to come on. It's about time, especially now that you're retired. So yeah, so thanks everyone. This is DJ Kalicha Kid, just here to remind you to stay curious, stay healthy, and let's thrive together, RGV.